In the last part of this series, we looked at how to build a simple, responsive web page layout using CSS Flexbox. We focused on distributing the free space around the content in a Flexbox. This time, we'll look at distributing space within the content itself. If you haven't watched the first part yet, you really should go back and watch that one first, and then come back to this one. Before I begin, I just want to say if you like this video, please remember to click the like button. If you want more from me, then you're also going to want to click subscribe. But remember, you also need to click the bell-shaped thing next to the subscribe button. Existing subscribers, you need to do this too. Without doing this, you will not be notified by YouTube when I release a new video, even if you are subscribed. We're going to be building this. It's a two-column layout where you have a text item on the left and then an action button. It's responsive in a very particular way, in that when you change the display size, the button column remains just big enough to fit the button, but the text column increases or decreases size based on the width of the screen. Now, a naive implementation of this would be to use a percentage width column, but this does not achieve what we want, as the size of the button column would shrink or grow depending on the width of the container. But we want it to be just as big as the button, plus a little bit extra room for some padding. Let me show you how this is done. Here's the markup. We've just got a container, and then within that a div class text and a div class button, of course with the button in it. Looking at the CSS, we have some basic body styles. We also have a container which is 90% width, it's got some margin on it, and it's also got a border on it. We've got basic styles for the button element, and for both of our columns we've got a little bit of padding. You may think the way to do this was the method we saw in the last video, which was to use the justify content property. So let's try that out now. So we're going to make our container a flexbox by adding the property display with the value flex. This will make it a row and all of its contents will be columns. Then we're going to add our justify content, and the value is going to be, just as before, space between. We're going to save that and we're going to reload the page. Now it appears to have worked, but it hasn't. It only looks like it's worked because we can't see the width that each element is taking up. As a solution to this, what I'm going to do, or what I have done rather, is I've added background colors to each of the columns, and I refresh, and now you can see what's happened. The browser has taken the free space in the container after the widths of the content have been taken into account, and it's put it here between the columns. That's not what we want to happen. We want the free space to be added to the width of the text column here on the left, and this is where a property called flexgrow comes in. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the justify content property. Then on the text column, we're going to add a new property, flex-grow, and set the value to 1. And we're going to go ahead, save and refresh. And voila, it works. So what's going on here? Flexgrow tells this column, the text column, to take up all of the free space in the container for itself. It makes it a greedy column. Now at this stage, I think astute viewers will be wondering two things. Firstly, why is the value of flexgrow a number? And secondly, what if multiple columns have a flexgrow property? The best way to explain how all this works is just to show you. I'm going to add a middle column with some text in it, and I'm going to give it a class of middle. Then I'm going to add a style rule for this, and this is just going to have some padding, a background color, and then also, importantly, a flexgrow with the value of 1. Don't forget the flexgrow, very important. So I'm going to save that and reload. So both of these columns, the text column and the middle column, have a flex grow set to 1, but you will notice they're not the same width. The left column is wider, so the widths will be calculated as follows. The total width of all the content, so that's all the text and the button, will be worked out. The difference between this and the width of the container will then also be worked out. Since the total value of flexgrow items in the container is 2, as each of the columns we gave a flexgrow to have a flexgrow of 1, each of them will get half of the free space available added to them. So they will each be the width of their content plus half of the free space from the container. Let's make the grow value for middle 3. We're also going to go ahead and change the text in the first text column to be middle, so the change is more obvious since the content will be the same width for both of our text columns. And we reload. As you may have expected, the middle column is now bigger than the left column, visibly so, but not 3 times bigger. So what's happened is this. Our total flex grow for the container is 4. Since the leftmost column has a value of 1, it gets a quarter of the free space available added to it. Since the middle column has a value of 3, it gets 3/4 of the free space. I think that explains everything nicely. So join me next time when I'll show you how the properties of a flex container behave differently depending on whether your flexbox is a row or column based layout. As always, the link to my mailing list is in the description below. Subscribe to get quality content into your inbox every week.